bothers me that almost every high school in the city is charged with falsifying grades for children to graduate. That ain't nothing to sit around and be proud about. That's a problem. And like Nehemiah, if I could, I would fix it.
Come on.
And the question for us is, okay, the Lord gives you favor. And if the Lord said, okay, what do y'all want me to do? What's your answer? Have you really laid before God to say, God, what are the problems in this community that you want us to fix?
Come on, preacher. Come on.
You know, in the 50s and the 60s, the church, the black church, was the hub of the black community.
That's right.
You know why we got rights in the city? You know why we got rights in this country? Because the black church went to work. Y'all ain't gonna hear me in here. It was black preachers who got at the forefront of the line and say, if you wash us down the street with hoses, that's fine. But we got a problem with what's going on here, and we gonna get it fixed.
That's right.
All of them that were up front were preachers.
Come on, preacher.
But we drive Benzes. We drive BMWs. We're wearing $800-900 pairs of shoes and custom tailor-made suits and all of that. We don't have time now to look at the problems that are in our city, look at the problems that are in our country, and get ticked off about it. I was getting ready to say something else. Get ticked off about it so that we can do something.
That's right, Pastor.
Amen.
So we don't show up to work. Nehemiah has favor because he didn't just show up to work to get paid. Can I suggest to you that if you want favor, you got to go to work to work.
Go ahead, Pastor. Say that.
I don't even run a company no more, but I still have flashbacks of how stupid I was for all them years giving my life to running a company. It ain't nothing more frustrating than somebody who come to work just so they can get some money.
Say something. Say that. Say that.
Go to work because you want to do the job. If you take a clerical job, it's understanding that you will have to type. If you take a job as a mail carrier, it's understanding you will have to carry the mail. If you take a job to drive the truck, ain't no need in you ducking truck driving. That's what you took the job to do.
That's right.
Nehemiah worked this job. And he worked this job with great ability, and therefore he's before the king and he has favor. Now in humility he says to the king, if I found favor in your sight. I hear Tasha call, Lord, if I found favor in your sight, give me this. And you're saying, you have. He didn't just show up to get his money. Now, we don't know how long, we don't know how long that Nehemiah told them that he was going to leave for. But according to Nehemiah chapter 5 at verse 14, it tells us that Nehemiah was gone for 12 years. I don't think he said, I need to leave for 12 years. I think he gave them something and then he sent back to say, can I stay a little longer? And the king extended his time, because I don't know anybody got enough favor that you can say, I want you to hold my job, because I love my cupbearer job, but I need to be gone. You know, I'm coming back in 2030. I ain't got the king saying, yeah, you can go ahead and leave to 2030. But I think he asked for time to be extended, and the king extended his time. Now, here's what I love, because in verse 8, it says that Nehemiah recognized that the hand of God was on his life. Y'all don't know when to get excited. See, it's one thing to know that you got a burden for something, that God has given you a mandate for something, but it's another thing to know that God has ordained that you can be the one that goes and do it. See, I want to suggest to you that you ought not go put your hands on anything until you know that God has his hand on you. But you go put your hands on all kinds of stuff when you know that God has his hand on you. When God has his hand on you, you've got all kinds of power to go and do some things. When God got his hand resting on you, you can move mountains. When God got his hands on you, you can climb all the biggest things in the world because the hand of God is on you. Might I sit down right here and park for a minute? When you got the hand of God on you, don't get it twisted and think that it's you. No, it ain't got nothing to do with you. What is going on in your life is the hand of God. With other folks, it's impossible. But when God put his hands on you, what was impossible is now possible. And you know when God got his hand on you, you know you ain't spent enough time getting prepared to preach, but God got his hands on you. And the sermon turns out like it ain't supposed to just because God got his hands on you. That things that your child wasn't the best child, you didn't do the best parenting, but God got his hands on you, and you see things turn around late in the midnight hour. God turns that thing around. The favor of God and the hand of God was on his life. Now, the third thing I want to give you is that Nehemiah was going to need some help. It's one thing for God to give you a mandate. Something else for God to give you favor. But Nehemiah recognized I ain't gonna be able to do this stuff by myself. From where Nehemiah was to where he needed to go, he had to travel some distance. He had to travel through some foreign lands, and on his way he needed to go to Jerusalem with some men so that he would be unharassed. So Nehemiah needed some men. And can I share with y'all today that if we're going to do whatever God is calling us to do, we're going to need some men.
All right.
Amen.
He already had papers from the king, and that would have been good enough. But along with the papers, God sends him a cavalry. Because the cavalry and the papers are even better.
Yeah.
They would escort Nehemiah from where he was all the way to Jerusalem and make sure nobody put his hands on him.
All right.
He didn't just need men, but he needed men with ability. And you know, that's one of the things that I think is challenging for today's church, is we have folks who have ability, but won't use their ability at all. You ever been around somebody and go, man, if you wanted to, you could be the baddest dude in the world, but for some reason, you don't want to do nothing.
There you go.
All you want to do is act like you still 5 years old. Can I share with you here? When I was 14 years old, if the stuff that held my attention when I was 14 and 15 is still holding my attention when I'm 34 and 44 years old, something's wrong with my maturity. I don't know how old I was when Atari 2600 came out, but I sat there with that little block in my hand and that joystick and that little red button, and I played in front of that TV for hours. I'm a grown man. I ain't sitting in front of no TV with no... I was 14 years old when I did that.
Come on, big shot. Come on, big shot.
You got time to play games, but you ain't got time to get out in the streets and fix this community. No, we can't be sitting around having a party while the city and the world we live in is going to hell in a handbasket. If you're gonna rebuild the city that's torn down, we're gonna need some men who are capable, who are available, and who are willing. Y'all know capability really ain't our challenge. We're capable. We can do all kind of stuff. You want to see how capable somebody else is? Start doing something in front of them.
All right. All right.
And as soon as you start doing it, they'll tell you how to do it. Well, if you know how to do it so much, why are you sitting here watching me do it? If I'm not mopping the floor the way it needs to be mopped, how about you take the mop out my hand and show me how to do it? I don't preach right. I use broken English. I use too much slang. Why don't you use your call to preach and stand up here and preach the right way then? I sing on the wrong note. Then why don't you come up here and sing on the right note? I'm trying not to let folks work my nerves, but if there's anything, it's folk who are capable but are not available and are not willing to do anything. Those folks get on my nerves. Can I share with you here that if all you're going to do is come to God's church so you can take from God's church, you are a travesty to God's church. And folks who sit around waiting to see what am I going to get out of it.
Come on, man. Come on.
We need some men.
Yeah.
Man, I've come down your road too, sister. Oh, we need some sisters.
Yeah.
Amen. Everything that men do for the men, we need women to do for the sisters. In some areas, men ought not be ministering to women. We need some sisters who ain't scared to get in the streets and say, listen, honey, you don't have to sell your body. We serve a God who puts food on the table, who wakes us up every day, puts clothes on our back, puts money in our pocket. There is a way better than this. Nehemiah was going to repair Jerusalem. He wasn't going to be able to do it by himself.
That's right, Pastor.
Listen to folk talk about great ministries and how, oh, this church does that and this church does that. They got a lot of people who going to work in those churches. Then have a bunch of folks sitting back complaining about what we're not doing, who are then gathering themselves to say, I'm going to pick up something and help you along the way. This story just flashed in my mind. I got a neighbor on my block who is as rude as he can be. But he's my friend. So he was in his yard doing some yard work. And another neighbor came up in his yard, standing in the way, asking him about what he's doing. So after about 15 minutes of him having to keep saying, excuse me, he said to the other neighbor, either pick up a shovel or get the expletive out my yard. And I said, why you gotta be so mean? He said, because I'm tired and I'm trying to work and he's in my way. I'm going to the next point because I'm about to get in trouble. Nehemiah needed men, but he also needed materials. Can I suggest to you that Nehemiah ain't even gone to work yet?
Right now.
He's just getting ready to go work. Ain't nothing worse than somebody who starts and then realize they didn't think through everything that they needed. You ever start cooking and they going, oh, I need a can of this. Y'all don't tell my wife and talk about her. Honey, can you go to the store like... If you snitch, the Lord gonna reveal these. He gonna reveal me supernaturally which one y'all are. You take a covenant every first Sunday. I'll be slow to taking offense. No backbiting and all that stuff. No tattling. You take a covenant every. You took it just a couple weeks ago when you said you would not tattle. Nehemiah asked for access to the materials that he would need to rebuild the city gates. The gates had been burned down when the walls were torn down. What we have to keep in the back of our mind is that while Nehemiah is working towards going to Jerusalem, he's going to Jerusalem fully cocked and loaded. When he gets to Jerusalem, we're going to cover that next week, he's going to get to Jerusalem ready to rock and roll. I can't wait to preach next week because he's got some stuff up his sleeve, and he's wise as a serpent, but he's coy. Nehemiah had lost his street sense.
All right.
Y'all need to come next week. That's going to be off the hook. He goes on to do what he needs to do, and he knows that he needs lumber. He needs wood when he gets back there because there's none of that already in Jerusalem, and he needs to rebuild the gates to the city. So he asked for the stuff. The king, you said, what I want? Give me some wood. I need you to give me letters so when I get to the forest that you got protected, that they'll give me some trees out of there so we can go home and make some city gates. Ministry without the work, the materials that you need is impossible.
Yeah.
It takes resources to restore what is torn down.
Yeah.
How you gonna fix the neighborhood, but the folks who come to the church won't bring their resources? All the clapping and singing in the world that you do here ain't gonna fix nothing outside of here.
All right.
I love clapping and singing and worshiping God. Love liturgical dance, but that don't pay for nothing.
That's right.
Y'all hear what I'm telling you? And if God is going to use us to fix the community and use us to fix people's lives, it takes materials. It takes resources. Y'all were clapping real good just a few minutes ago. Can I share with you that you will never minister to people for free? What can you do for people besides pray for them that don't cost you no money?
Amen, Pastor.
If you're going to meet people's needs, you're going to have resources.
That's right.
Nehemiah doesn't want to rebuild the gates for himself.
Amen.
He wants to rebuild the gates on Jerusalem so that the people who live in Jerusalem, the people who will come back to Jerusalem, will have some security.
Yeah.
Ministry requires a mandate from God. It requires men and women who have been called by God.
Amen.
It requires folks who have the hand of God on their lives.
Amen.
But it also requires money blessed by God.
Yeah.
See how quiet y'all get when I start talking about money? But we need you and your materials.
Amen.
We need money and resources in order to do ministry.
Amen.
There's a funny story of Eddie Jones when he was playing basketball professionally. I think Eddie Jones is from Philadelphia. And one summer he was home and a friend told him he needed to meet with him. And Eddie said, okay, I'll meet with you. He said, I got a project. You're going to be overwhelmed with this project. And he said, okay. And so they met. And he said, Eddie said he had blueprints. He rolled the blueprints out and he said, okay, so this looks good. Where's the property? He told him where it was. What are you going to do? He showed him all of this stuff in the blueprints. And Eddie said, well, how much money does the project, how much money do you need from me? And he said, I need $10 million. And he said, well, how much is the whole process going to cost? He said, $10 million. He had a project, but he didn't have any money.
Right.
And Eddie said, no, you can do your project by yourself because I'm the one who played basketball for all these millions of dollars. I ain't giving you all my millions of dollars for your project.
Amen.
That's what we get right here at the church.
That's right.
Folk who come with their projects, but no money.
Amen.
Pastor, can we do this? Yeah, we could do that. How are we going to pay for it? Well, you're the one with the money. The church is the one with all the money. Like, no, that ain't where that comes from.
Amen.
Nehemiah knows that if he's going to go back to Jerusalem to rebuild the walls, he needs materials. Don't be surprised to have a mandate and have favor, have men and materials when what God can do with you when you have everything that you need in order to do.
That's right.
I mean, we're reading through this already knowing that Jerusalem gets rebuilt.
Right.
They go to work and do the work. But one of the major pieces in this is there's a part of this that is God work, and then there's a part of this that is man work. We want God to do everything.
Come on. Come on. Say that.
God, you could just speak from heaven, rebuild a wall. I mean, why we got to sit here with knives and trowels in our hand and cutting rocks and all? Well, God, why you just can't speak that?
Right.
HIV could be gone in this country, but God, why you just can't do it? Why you want us to do it? Folks that's in this neighborhood that's jacked up, God, you could just speak the word from heaven and they would be fixed. Why I gotta go out in the streets and help?
My Lord.
Because that's what's required. God gives us giftings and he gives us callings so that we use what we've been gifted for to benefit the community.
That's right.
And I pray I'm not getting on your nerves, but I am convinced that we have a mandate to fix this community. And for some of you, life will continue on just like it's been going. And we'll do church like we've been doing it. You'll show up Sundays, you'll sing and you'll clap. You'll go home and we'll see you next Sunday. But I want to share with you that the real work of fixing the community is going to be when we're not at church. Do you know when Jesus turned water into wine, he wasn't at church? He was at a wedding. When Jesus told Peter to go down to the sea and find a fish with a coin in his mouth, y'all know he wasn't at church. When Jesus walked on water, he wasn't at church. When Jesus called Lazarus out the grave, he wasn't at church. He was in the cemetery. When Jesus calmed the raging sea, he wasn't at church. Y'all getting the picture I'm telling you? That Jesus did all kinds of things, and when he did the great things that he did, he wasn't at church. There was a woman who snuck up behind him, had been bleeding on her cycle for 12 long years. Did you know he healed her body, but he wasn't at church when he did it? There's almost no references of Jesus healing folks when he was at the church. If Jesus did all this stuff outside of church, why the only time we show up looking to do anything is at the church? My prayer is that we would be ready for what God is going to use us.
Amen.
If you know that God's hand is on you, God's hand is not on you for nothing. The question that you and I got to ask ourselves is, God, why'd you give me all this power? And what are you going to do now that you want to use me for all that? Amen. Amen. Would y'all stand? You might be here today and feel the presence of God pulling on your life. You may be here and saying, Lord, I don't know what your purpose or your call on my life is. But I really do believe, Lord God, that you're calling me. That you have something that you want to do in my life. If you're here and you don't know what God's purpose in your life is, I encourage you to come. If you're here and you believe that God is calling you, I encourage you to come today. What God is calling you to do may not even be completely evident to you. and particularly if what God is showing you to do is scary to you, I encourage you to come. I'm going to share with y'all a quick personal story. Many years ago, I was running my own business and I was told that I needed to talk to Bank of America up in the part where nobody gets to go. And I made it up into there, down by the White House. The young man asked me, he said, "What do you want?" And I said, "Well, I'd like to refinance my building. I'd like to refinance my house. And if I could, I'd like to get money to buy 3 trucks. I ain't got nothing to lose. I don't have anything. And since you asking me what I want, I'm going to tell you everything I want." A bunch of phone calls back and forth with each other over 4 to 6 months, something in that neighborhood. And he calls me back and he says, "Okay, I got it." I said, "You have what?" He said, "I got all that stuff that you asked for." I said, "All of it?" He said, "All of it. You need to come down here so you can sign some papers and the work will get started." He called and he said, "You asked for 90,000. I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, well, you got that." And then I called him back and said, "I don't need 90,000. I need 125,000 because the trucks that I want cost more than I thought they were going to cost." He said, "There should be no problem." I'm sitting on the side of my bed just a few days later because he FedExed some checks to me. I'm sitting on the side of my bed with the pen in my hand. All I need to do is sign 3 checks for 125,000, put them in another self-addressed envelope and mail them back to North Carolina, and the trucks are mine. I had the audacity to ask for it. And now I'm thinking if I sign these papers, I'll owe $125,000. And I had to sit there and think about, did I really want to sign it? And I only share that with you because some of you have been asking God for stuff. And now that you're at the doorstep of getting what you've been asking for, you scared.
All right, preacher. All right.
Being scared. If God has put a burden on your heart for it, go for it. If you're here and you feel God calling you, you should come.
Amen.
I won't tell you that it's not scary. It is. But when God has called you, there's nothing that can get in your way. Maybe today your question, you may say, "You know what, God, I know that you're calling me. But I'm terrified. But I'm going to go anyway." If you're here, you should come. If you were in church, but you got away from church, and you feel God calling you back to the Lord, I beg you to come. Maybe today you just want us to touch and agree with you because you're getting ready to take on some things. Courage to move and do what God has told you to do. God's got his hands on some of you to be entrepreneurs. God's got his hands on you to be homeowners. Got his hands on you to climb in the level of work that you're doing. And you're not satisfied any longer with what you have.